All right. Bowel production and cholesterol production are both aspects of the light body, thus are controlled directly by the pituitary gland. All right. And the hypothalamus as well, but the pituitary gland. Bile naturally destroys histamines and inflammation. Bile naturally destroys histamines and inflammation. This is why as soon as your baby is born, they try to get rid of the bile. This is why as soon as anything goes wrong in your body, they try to pull the gallbladder out, etc., etc. All right? And they're trying to terraform inside your body. Okay? We got to get this. All right? Hormones, endocrine hormones, exocrine hormones. All right? The difference between the two: endocrine hormones are secreted directly into the blood. Exocrine secreted into ducts. All right. So what we'll be talking about is those that are controlled by the pituitary. All right. So release from endocrine cells, long latency, long duration of effect, delivered via the blood, diffuse actions. Neurotransmitters, are released from neurons. And although they do the same thing, they provide instructions. Their manner of effect is different. All right, so the hormones go through the blood. The neurotransmitters are different. They kind of go directly to targeted cells, and there are receptors on those cells to receive them. All right, but you got to be careful because white blood cells got fake neurotransmitters and hormones, and it gets a little crazy. So I'm telling you, it's a full-blown war in your body. All right, the distinction has become blurred. All right, between peptide neurotransmitters and neuromodulators and monoamines, etc., etc. This is what I'm trying to get into. All right. So just to give you some science on the pituitary, because the pituitary gland is being shut down by these nitrogen-based compounds. Okay. So all of these guys here are produced directly by your pituitary gland. Your melanin stimulating hormone, very important to this conversation. Somatotrophin, growth hormone. This is why we're not growing like we should. This is why our growth is stunted, but also the growth hormone has to do with regeneration of tissues, muscles, and bones once we get injured. Prolactin it controls more so for women, breast development and milk lactation, etc., etc. MSH we already discussed, and then you got these other guys, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, etc., etc. They play a role in gender and etc. and all that kind of stuff. But come on down, you see control kidney function in red, highlighted. Vasopressin, very important. All right, now look at these guys, test subjects. What did they do? By manipulating the hormones, all right, they figured out how to actually turn male genitalia to female genitalia. You see? All right? Just by adding nitrogen and nitrogen-based compounds in and changing the hormone patterns. Okay? You start to see the penis shrink and then become a vagina again. So, very important to understand this science. Neuroendocrine cell bodies in the hypothalamus produce, releasing, and inhibiting hormones, which are released from the axon terminals that synapse on the primary plexus of the portal system. The hormones travel via the portal veins to the anterior pituitary. Hormone-producing cells in the anterior pituitary respond to the hypothalamic hormones by releasing or inhibiting the release of their own hormones known as tropic hormones. Tropic hormones travel through the bloodstream and regulate endocrine glands throughout the body. All of these things are regulated from this guy here. Bile, colostrum. All right, colostrum, ladies, is how your hair grows. Sex, sexual organs, sexual gender, sexual preference. All of this nitrogen is wreaking havoc on our hormones, muscular development, breast and lactation. The women can't get breasts and can't breastfeed, and the men are getting breasts. It's getting crazy out here. pigment, stem germ cell activity, metabolism, okay, alkalinity, immunity, organ development, bonding with one another, all right, bonding, how we socialize, brain development. All of these things are controlled here. All right. So the entire cascade of hormones is predicated on starlight and water. Ammonia and sulfathiol change the fabric of hormones and neurotransmitters at their roots, while white blood cells release cytokines which mimic neurotransmitters. Very important. Caution. Dick pills, all right, very popular now, like sildenafil, aka Viagra, are almost pure nitrogen. And I haven't noticed, because I try to experiment with everything before I talk about it. And I haven't taken Viagra. Let me say that. But I took like a Viagra, generic Viagra, and I tried a couple of the over-the-counter ones. I didn't notice an increase in performance at all. I didn't notice an increase in performance, hard on, anything like that. So just understand that this is an attack on your body's internal chemistry. Now, what I will say is a lot of times we incorporate sex and drugs, even if it's just weed, into our sex. I mean, alcohol and drugs, even if it's just weed, into our sex. And alcohol and weed lessen our ability, our endurance, because it makes you more sensitive. That's why they say no smoking weed before getting a tattoo. It makes you too sensitive. So you smoke weed, it makes you more prone to having a premature ejaculation. And then the alcohol makes the blood sluggish and thick. So it just slows down your whole potency. It just takes away from your potency. So don't try to get drunk and get high and then try to find something to balance what you just broke. No, stay sober and do that thing the right way. And if your sexual partner isn't as appealing sober, then get a new sexual partner. You gotta figure that out. That you know, that's you figure that out. So, all right. So let's try to move. I'm gonna try to move. Okay. So you should have this stuff. The functions of the pituitary and hypothalamus glands are regulated by the circadian rhythms. All right. What regulates circadian rhythms? The pineal. Okay. Now, let's get into some fun stuff. The horns of Amun. Yes, in your biology, the horns of Amun are the seat of the emotional information or emotional information integration, known as your limbic system. So you can look that up. Horns of Amun in your brain. All right. What are emotions? Emotions are the sensation of the electricity and the quality of electricity flowing through the body. Amun proteins. Proteins that are produced by the Amun gene. You have an Amun gene. Regulate the hypothalamus function, thus control hormone distribution throughout the entire body. Yeah. Okay. This is where the horns of Amun are. All right. So I'm showing you on the left hand side in the brain anatomy, then I'm showing you on the right hand side where your ancestors left that for you. The pineal is a hollow piece of flesh carrying piezochromatic, when compressed, piezochromatic, which means that it releases different colors and images, pictures. That's what piezochromatic means. When it's compressed, all right, when force is applied, when energy, electricity is applied, pictures and images are released. All right, they are. Then you have crystals, which are called pinealocytes, and water. So that's what's going on inside your pineal gland. All right. Darkness activates the pinealocytes to distribute the stored information from the stars to the plasma. Very, 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 very simple but complex at the same time. DMT activates the pinealocytes to absorb and store information. This is where our obsession with the marijuana plant comes from. Marijuana plants cause the lungs to produce DMT that is then sent to the brain and utilized in the pineal gland. Okay. Up. Pineal gland book. What is that? AKA the Bible. Why would I say that? Okay. Well, not to spend too much time on this, but Bible itself just means books. That's it. So you have to ask yourself, what type of books? In order to ask yourself what type of books, the easiest thing to do to figure out what type of books they are is to read them. And the entire collection of books is based on a couple of key points. All right. The first that you need to know is Jacob, a guy named Jacob. A guy named Jacob saw God face to face, and there he called the place pineal. That is the first usage of the term pineal ever anywhere. That's where we get the modern day term for pineal. Our ancestors in Africa probably had a different term to refer to pineal, but that's the modern term we use. All right. Now, from then on, in fact, even before that, the entire book is about a special bloodline or a special group of progenitors of a special DNA. All right. That's all that's talking about is these people here. So now you could call it spooky or whatever you want, but that's the real science hidden in that book. It's people who have that special genetics. That's what that book is about. It's a genetics book. All right. Exodus 33:20. You cannot see my face, for no man will see me and live. John 1:15. God is light. Now what are we talking about? The single eye. When we look at the single eye, that's a symbol for our moon. Okay. All right. I know. I try to stay science when I'm doing my science, but I like to go into the spiritual systems and show the science because it has a correlation, and we'll see in a few seconds. Why does a deceased person entering the temple of our moon after death have a pine cone attached to their heads and all of the original papyri? Western science accredits the body with 5 senses. Eastern science accredits the body with over 300. Dogon mystery. The Dogon said our bloodline. See? Our bloodline. Something special about a specific bloodline. Now, mind you, a lot of the traditions that people in the Bible cling to as being Hebrew were practiced by the Dogon long before the Hebrew ideology came into existence. The Dogon said our bloodline catches matter with their pineal gland from Sirius A, B, and C. Now, why is that crazy? Because everything the Dogon has told us, even the most craziest stuff, has come to pass. The Dogon said our planet broke off. Our planet, first of all, they said our planet was a hydrogen crystal, and it broke off of a bigger planet that was a hydrogen crystal up there near Sirius A, B, and C. Now, that was ridiculed as pseudoscience, and to some of our less educated people, it still may be ridiculed until they open up a book and do some new research, right? Just recently, they found the hydrogen crystal. They just recently found the hydrogen crystal that this planet is made of. It's called ringwoodite. Ringwoodite. So why is that important? Because when they tell us things and we think it's baloney, and then we shrug it off and we laugh it off, oh, it's not real, blah, 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 it's pseudoscience, blah, blah, because we're waiting for white folks to validate it. Then later on, super late, Johnny come lately, they validate it, and then everybody, oh, wow, that's deep. When that happens, you have to give credence to everything else they were saying that you have yet to prove, and just put that in the category with things that you have yet to prove. Like our pineal gland catching matter, right? But the science is what it's catching is information, but we know matter has another form as the photon is transformed into electrons. So now we know that information is carried by photons and electrons through all of our electrical equipment. No different than it is in the brain and the body. So when those photons come, that black light comes, that activates the pineal, that's carrying information that then is transduced into actual electric impulses that our brain can use, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, pineoline. Pineoline, that lean with it, rock with it. Pineoline is a brain detoxifier produced by the pineal gland. And not only is it a brain detoxifier, it activates neurogenesis as well as neuromelanogenesis. All right. Also, melatonin produced in the pineal gland, not melanin, melatonin, which is a cellular detoxifier, helps repair. It also acts with superoxide dismutase to activate telomerase. Melatonin also has a key role in immune activation. Immune, all right? The immune gene that produces the immune proteins, all right, that we'll talk about a little bit more in depth. But those immune proteins work with the histones and regulate all of the gene expression throughout the body. All right, BMP, remember that. Bone morphogenic proteins. They work with the immune gene or the immune proteins and function with pineoline and melatonin to control the involuntary nervous system. So now we see who's in control of the involuntary nervous system. Information is stored in magnetic fields and travels in photons and electrons. The bone stores charge and therefore information. The body utilizes this information in the form of BMP. The pineal gland works directly with the skeleton to store information and access stored information.